Today's guest is Greg Muzzillo, the dynamic founder of Pro Forma, a $650 million global leader in promo products and printing industry. Greg launched in 1978 with $200 in a dream and has since built it into the global leader with 650 franchises worldwide. If you're an entrepreneur or aspire to be one, you won't want to miss this conversation.
We're all looking for the same thing, we all learned from some great people. We stand on their shoulders, so to speak, and now it's it's not our obligation. It's truly my joy to be able to share just the way other people shared with me.
That's exactly how I feel as well. I have a lot of friends who are entrepreneurs, and I can't always help them. I don't have all the right ideas, but I feel like it's my duty as living through and being a lifelong entrepreneur to help the next generation of entrepreneurs and people like yourself. Learning from you, I think it's going to be beneficial for me in the long run, and hopefully the audience gets something out of this as well.
Anytime we make a connection, whether it's just friendship or great ideas, we all grow and we're all better for it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. So I guess to get started, how did you find yourself in this industry? It's such a unique industry. It's a niche. It's a fairly large niche, but it's such a weird world. And I'm just always curious on meeting people in the industry. How you even landed here?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's not a large niche. Promo by itself is not large, but our industry, the industry we play in, which is promotional products, commercial printing, and custom packaging, is gigantic. And nobody, to your point, I love hearing people's stories because nobody went to college and studied to do this. Uh, when I was in college, I studied to be an accountant. And when I graduated, I had a job with what is now Deloitte and Touche. I was an auditor at General Motors, American Electric Power, Westinghouse. And what I learned very quickly was, Jeremy, that I loved studying accounting. I love studying accounting. And then I learned pretty quickly I hated doing it. And I won all the awards at my college, graduated top in the class, lots of accounting scholarships. And my professor said when they learned I quit, and I'll tell more of that story in a second, I would go back to college and to speak to the entrepreneurship class. He said, Greg, whatever happened to you, Greg? I said, you accounting people, you need to have a class just one day. It starts at 7:00 in the morning, it goes till 7:00 at night, and it's called Sit Down and Shut Up, because I can't do that. Well, anyhow, within 6 months, I knew, Jeremy, I could not do accounting. And a buddy of mine that we would go out, so I graduated college in 1977. We would go out, back in the days when there were discos. I'm embarrassed to say that word, but it was the thing. So we'd go out on Friday night looking for dates for Saturday night, and we would inevitably be complaining about our job. And I would complain about accounting, and he would complain about, at the time, he worked for a forms distributorship.
Wow.
If you remember that stuff with all those carbons in between it, or that carbonless stuff. And I said to him, well, wait a minute now, wait a minute. You mean you don't own any equipment or printing equipment or employees or buildings? Because when you study accounting, Jeremy, you sort of learn, like, especially in cost accounting, like everybody makes everything they sell because you're learning cost accounting. So that was my bias. And then I thought, wow. And he would tell me about $50,000 orders, $100,000 orders with 40% gross profit. And I thought to myself, good night. Wait, we don't have to own anything except maybe a phone answering machine and a file cabinet, and we can do this. Yeah. Let's go. We each put in $100
Wow.
in 1978. And we started January 1st, 1978. And when I told the CPA firm I was leaving, they said, Greg, calm down. We invest a lot of money. Would you see us through the busy season? So I did. And I'm grateful that I did, because then my former partner started in January, and we lived off of my paycheck for the first 6 months till I got through the busy season. And then I joined him. So that's the origin story.
Awesome. How did your family handle that? You're an accounting background. I'm just thinking of, it's actually funny. My co-founder, Josh, with Swag, he also worked at Deloitte. And very similar to you, how you describe it, he loved the learning of accounting, and then when he got there, he was like, "I don't wanna be here." And
Oh,
I could
no.
just
Yeah.
and I remember he was telling his parents that he's
Yeah.
leaving this cushy job and now he's joining the swag business. How did your family handle that?
But that would be not well, and you expect that answer, right?
Yeah,
My mom
totally.
Of course, my mom was disappointed that I didn't go to Cooper's, which I don't even think is in business anymore, but Cooper's were the people that, did the Academy Awards, and they were the ones up on stage handing out the envelopes back in the day. And she always wanted her son to maybe go to work for the Academy Award CPA firm. Anyhow, she when I told her, "Hey, mom, I'm quitting," I'd studied for 4 years, and I did really well, and they were really proud of me, and I told her I'm quitting and to go do this thing out of an apartment with a phone answering machine and a file cabinet, and she said to me, "Greg, are you nuts?" That's what she
Yeah.
"Greg, are you nuts? Have you lost your mind?" And that's okay. That's probably to be expected.
Totally. So you became a regular, I guess what we call today a promo distributor, and
Well,
how
no,
many?
not originally, not originally.
Okay,
So we were a forms distributor, all
okay.
that stuff with carbons in between it. And that was from 1978 till, oh, maybe 1985 or 86. Uh, and mostly forms. And then as forms seemed like maybe they were going to be coming to an end, as copiers were becoming more intelligent. And when people needed 8 parts to go to 8 different departments of a form, all of a sudden these copiers were coming along and they were able to make those 8 different parts. And so the writing was on the wall. We morphed into commercial printing. And then we wanted to expand. We were in Cleveland, Ohio. That was our where we started. We made Inc. magazine's listing of the 500 fastest growing companies. That's when they only had 500 of them. 3 years in a row, 83, 84, and 85, or maybe it was 84, 85, and 86. And we decided to expand to Columbus, Ohio. It's about 2 hours away. And long story short, we interviewed a number of people, went down, had a short list, interviewed them, made a decision, and called the guy that we wanted to hire to be the manager of our first remote office. And we drove down to meet with this guy, and and we got there, and he said, guys, I've been thinking about this and thinking about it, and I can't do this. I can't take the job because the more I get to know you guys, and the more I get to know your story, I want to do what you did. I want to own my own business." And I thought, dang, that sounded like failure to me, miserable failure. But I'm the kind of guy that will think about things for a long time. And I think, what could I have done different? What could I have done better? And, uh, uh, um, and I thought to myself, now, wait a minute. This guy wants to own his own business, just like my former partner and I did. Would there have been a way for us to empower his owning his own business with our infrastructure, with our technology, with our financing, with our supplier relationships, with et cetera? And I thought about that, and it took me about a year to kind of cook up the idea of franchising, where each of our offices, each of the offices would own their own businesses. So 85, 86, we started franchising, and then, but we were still business forms, business printing. And then in 1990, early 90s, 91, 92, one of our earliest owners down in Dallas, Texas, I kept seeing the orders that were coming in from him, and it was wacky stuff. And I called him up. I said, "Carl, what's this wacky stuff you're selling? Pens and bags and all that stuff." And he said, "Well, Greg, it's promotional products. It's really lucrative." And I looked at his margins, and in fact, it was. And so I went and visited a friend of mine, Terry Briz, who owned Galaxy Balloons in Cleveland, Ohio. If you remember the name of that company. I said, "Terry," we had gone to high school together, like I said. I gave him a brown paper bag, and I said, "Terry, here's what I need you to do. You got to remember, this is still no internet out there. Here's a bag. I need to learn about promotional products. Take every magazine, every flyer, everything you get, and put it in this bag for me. I'll be back in a month and I'll get it from you." And I did. And I went back and I got all the magazines and all the whatever, and that began the learning of the promotional products industry, which accelerated quickly because the same people that buy printing, um, the marketing manager, the sales manager, the human resources office, meetings and events, maybe operations to a lesser degree and or purchasing. They're the same people that make the same decision about promotional products. They're the same people. And so it was a natural and then our and so we adopted promotional products and then the same with packaging, custom printed packaging. We're not squeezing toothpaste into tubes but more just custom printed packaging. And so that it and businesses spend maybe in North America 26 to 30 billion dollars on just promotional products. Businesses in North America spend about 350 billion dollars. 350 compared to 25 to 30 billion, they spend about 300 to 350 billion, 10x on on all of what we sell, printing, promotional products, and that's larger than the fast food industry. That's more money than all people in North America spend on hamburgers, submarine sandwiches, tacos, pizza, donuts, and so we're in a very large industry
Mhm,
that includes promotional products,
mhm.
but not limited to promotional products.
Oh, it's so interesting. First of all, I did not know that. I thought Pro Forma was a exclusively promo business because we've heard of it and we've seen it all along. And I know
Yeah.
I read something that about 40 of your franchisees were in the Inc. 5000 last year. You have a lot of these different people. That's very interesting. So you're involved in a lot of other industries as well.
It'd be like, I in my view, I think see things relatively straightforward. It would be like if you had a McDonald's that only sold French fries. And the person in the drive-through window said, "Well, wait a minute, can I get hamburgers?" And the guy in the window said, "No, I'm sorry, we only sell French fries." It's the same thing. Like, I don't understand why people wouldn't sell custom printed stuff. I get that, there's other stuff we don't want to sell, but custom printed stuff has the same features, characteristics. Every business in North America has to buy some of it. Every business runs out of it. It's all custom printed. So the margins are relatively defensible and it's an easy business to scale because once you get an order, you can be out working on new business from other people or referrals in that business while that repeat order cycles up. And so you're constantly scaling, building on the repeat nature of the industry.
So how does the franchise model work? I have a good friend who works at Popeyes, and he's in their franchise department, and I understand how that model works with different locations. This type of business with promo or printing in general, I don't know how it works for you guys. Is it location based? Is it not location?
No, no,
So,
there's no it's just at the end of the day, and we hate the F word in the industry because people think that they don't understand it either. People think, well, I guess franchising's okay for people that want to make submarine sandwiches or sell pizza, but a lot of people in our industry think they're better than that or different than that. So we call our people affiliates. But a lot of people, Jeremy, want to own their own business. And so we empower our distributor owners with the industry's best technology. We've got 30 some $35 million in the last 6 years built into our business management system and our proprietary company stores systems. So we empower our individual owners with technology and business success resources that they could never be able to get for the very small fee that they pay us. Open lines of credit, great purchasing clout, the ability to go sell into much larger businesses and be far more successful than on your own and all alone. Our industry, promotional products, printing, is littered with small mom and pops who are to their own demise, independently stubborn and stupid. And they think, I just want to own my own business. And I get it because I think everybody that owns their own distributorship in this industry, almost everybody used to work for somebody else. And W and once they put up their flag of independence and owning their own business, they don't wanna hear about affiliating with anybody or working with anybody ever again, to their own detriment, and so most people in this industry, the average distributor in this industry is doing under $500,000 a year, and they'll never optimize themselves because I personally believe if you're not making a $500,000 a year cash in your pocket, you're wasting your time. And so a lot of independent distributors are just wasting their time trying to come up with the right technology, trying to come up with the right company stores program, trying to come up with the right marketing tools and resources, trying to come up with vendors relationships, open lines of credit, discount, and they're wasting their time on so much triviality. They're not majoring in the majors. They're not majoring in the work that'll make them wealthy. They're majoring in the work that'll make them crazy.
Mhm. Do I is how many members do you have? I guess you call them members. You say you don't like the
Yeah,
word the F
correct.
word,
Yeah,
members.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
How many members does Proforma have at this point?
600, and so our average is well over $1,000,000, but it's probably, if you
Mhm,
took the ones that are active,
mhm,
it's probably closer to $3,000,000 because we still have people that joined us in the we started when we started in the in the early '80s and into the '90s, we were really more of a traditional franchisor, recruiting people outside of the industry and teaching them the industry and growing them. And there's a lot of those people that are still with us, and we'll never kick them out, even though their sales are maybe, trickling down over time. And that's okay. They joined us. I say they joined us when they didn't know any better. And I will love them to pieces forever, even though they drag down our average unit volume. Today, we only recruit distributors or proven sales reps with a book of business over $1,000,000 a year, because we don't have time to white glove onboard and train people. There are no territories. Territories don't make sense in this industry. We're a B2B industry, and so, we do protect some accounts. If somebody has a large contractual account, we protect accounts, but what are there 20,000,000 businesses in North America, and each one had 3 decision makers, that makes what is that, 60,000,000 decision makers out there. It's a big enough,
big enough
opportunity.
pie, right? This big
Yeah,
enough
it's a
pie.
big enough pie.
It doesn't matter, stepping on
Yeah,
each other's toes. This is enough to
no,
go around. All right, so this is interesting. So you go after distributors, at least at this stage, that's $1,000,000 or plus. And
right.
what do you say to them? What's the sales pitch to them? Obviously, you're bringing a lot of technology to the table. You're taking a lot of your own knowledge of how to actually take them from 1,000,000 to 3,000,000. Let's say you have probably better rates at those suppliers and the
Oh
vendors.
god.
You have right, and you
Yeah,
say to
yeah,
them,
yeah,
even if
yeah.
you did $1,000,000 again, you're gonna keep more of it in your pocket because you're getting better rates, better cost structure. Do you
You know, I don't want somebody to join us that's doing $1,000,000 and wants to stay at $1,000,000. That's a loser. I want people that wanna get to 5,000,000, and so we're I don't believe we sell people to join Pro Forma. We tell people what they need to know about Pro Forma, and so I think the sales process at our end, the relationship process, try to understand, number 1, just like you asked me, "How'd you get into this crazy business?" Because everybody's got their own goofy story. Where are you at today? And number 3, where do you wanna be in 3 to 5 years? And do you see a clear path to getting there? Most people don't know where they wanna be in 3 to 5 years and see no clear path to getting there. And when some people say, "Let's talk about that, Greg or John or Vanessa or who's ever's the development person they're working with," I wanna have a more clear vision of where I wanna go, what I wanna do. I wanna have more free time to enjoy my life. So many people, they start remember that story, 7 in the morning, and they go to 7 at night doing the mundane, we call it $25 an hour work instead of the $500 an hour work that'll make you rich. And most people, it's possible, Jeremy, for a small distributor to work really hard from 7 in the morning till 7 o'clock at night, go home exhausted, and not have done one thing all day that made them money. And so when people are really ready to have a better path, a better way to outsource all that non-wealth building activity to let somebody else do it and do it better so they can focus on finding and growing relationships, finding and growing customers, finding and growing salespeople, finding and growing acquisitions to grow their own business. That's it. It's relationship building and growing that creates success, and it's everything else that gets in the way of success.
Mhm. Do you handle the operational side of the orders for them, or they're still doing that relationships with their own suppliers? It's just they have a better connection or better pricing structure. How does it work in terms of like? It sounds like you help them clear their plate in many different aspects so that they could focus on what they probably want to do, which is the
Well,
selling
we
and the
do have
growing.
so part of what is $25 an hour work is usually sourcing, pricing, order entry, and order follow-up, right? That's $25 an hour work. And we do have a division that does that for our owners if they want. That's optional. And I think they get a full-time person. I think it's in St. Thomas. I'm not exactly sure, and I think we have 100 people there now that do sourcing, pricing, order entry, and order follow-up, company store setup, company store management, etcetera, for our people. But they can hire their own on-site CSR people that do sourcing, pricing, order entry, and order follow-up too. Um, but when dealing with the suppliers, yeah, they know who our preferred suppliers are and they know our preferred pricing and they're able to enjoy that. Every now and then they'll get in a pickle and uh and we get them out of a pickle. I know a guy, one of our owners did $25 million last year and when he joined us I think he was under a million. And he had a problem um with a supplier, and the supplier wasn't going to honor what the supplier originally told him, and then he went and told his customer he could do, and it ended up being $1 million worth of business, maybe a little bit more. And uh, he joined us, and he was having this problem, and so I got on the phone with the supplier, and we had a come to Jesus meeting with the supplier in a kind way. And the supplier said, "Okay, Greg, I see what you're saying." And they went ahead and they did that order for our owner. And that owner to this day laughs because he spent some of his life on a yacht, a very nice boat. He said, "Greg, you help pay for the yacht I live on."
It's cool. I'm just trying to think of so your customers are really the promo distributors or the printing, like the franchisees. I know you don't call them franchisees, the members.
That's right.
Those are your clients.
That's them.
Those are your customers.
That's right.
So I guess what's your success? Like how do you measure success? Like how happy your members are, how much they're growing. Like when you look at the end of the year and you say, was this year a success or not? What do you kind of measure yourself against?
Well, there's internal measures, and we have our own standards for that. But if you ask me, how do I measure an owner's success? If they're happy, we're happy. My job is not to make people unhappy. Our job is to identify where are they trying to go in the next 3 to 5 years? What do they need to do to get there? And how can we empower them with the tools, the resources, the programs, and the support to get there? And so if we're on track, helping our owners be on track, that's success. But if somebody's happy, listen, at the end of the day, why are we here in this world? I think we're here in this world, as childish as might sound, to be happy. It even says in the Bible, Jesus said, I came that your joy may be full, right? We're here to be happy. We're here to be joyful. So, and I think a lot of people aren't in general. And so I think if we can help people be joyful in their business life, that spills over to joyful in their family life, their personal life, and a whole lot more. And it is a wonderful experience, Jeremy. I tell people I just started this thing, Jeremy, back in 1978 because I wanted to make money because I hated accounting and I needed to do something else. Sort of accidentally, I found myself really in the dream business. Today, what do? We empower the success of our owners. We empower the dreams of our owners. And at Million Dollar Club, which is our premier recognition event in the industry, where we recognize people with a million up to 50 million, our largest is 50 million in sales, and also at our annual convention or other things, other events, many people will come up to me and say, hug me and say, Greg, thank you. You changed my life. And if you said, besides the financial rewards of owning the business, what means the most to you? It's when somebody they don't have to hug me, but it's okay. But when somebody says, "Greg, thank you. You changed my life," that lets me know that I'm doing something that's contributing to the greater good.
Mhm. And that's clearly motivating you, just even just hearing the passion that you speak about it. Um, when you come to work and it doesn't feel like a job really, right? It gives it's
Of
like a greater
course.
a greater purpose. You could build the things that you wanna build in that you maybe never dreamed of. I'm sure, Greg, when you were starting and you were leaving accounting, joining the promo or the printing world or the forms world when you started, you could have never imagined that you'd be doing what you $600 million in, cumulative revenue through your franchisees. But in probably hindsight, you could look back and you could see, oh, there's different things along the journey that we did, that kind of compounded, that were stepping stones. Where do you think, if you could kind of go back and say, like the key moment in your business, was there any kind of key moment that a realization or like a pivot or a strategy that you were focusing on that you felt like led you in the right direction to take you where you are today?
Well, there are many. Um, but you're right. It's the moments and the very few moments that really make a big difference. Surely the first was the moments that I was talking to my former partner, and the idea came to me to say, "We can do this. Let's buy a" we each put in $100. My goodness. You know what I mean? That was a great moment. The moment when that person that we wanted to hire in Columbus turned us down, that was a gift. Sometimes it's hard to realize that really what I thought was failure was the key to success. So that was a gift that brought the idea of franchising. I know when we decided to start the franchising business model, I'm kind of I believe in immersion, so I joined the International Franchise Association. I got on the board of directors, and I went and visited a guy that was the founder and CEO at the time of a company called Management Recruiters. They were a B2B franchise organization, and he was very nice. And a lot of people talk about mentoring, and I think that's sort of overblown. I think in many cases you can get 90% of whatever you're going to get out of one meeting. And I had a meeting with this guy who was very, very nice. And I said, anything else? And he said to me, yeah, Greg, one more piece of advice. Don't sell dirt. Now, this is in 1985. Greg, don't sell dirt. And I thought, what does that mean? And don't sell territories. They had really limited their success selling territories that they were locked out of. And there's a lot of people in this world that have a certain level of income that when they reach it, they really aren't going to work another marginal hour for another marginal dollar of income. And he really regretted that. And in 1985, I was the father of 3 kids, 2 of which were twins, and all of them were under the age of 3, and I thought, "How am I gonna ever pay for all this?" I probably would have sold the rights to San Francisco for $10.95, you know what I mean? I'm exaggerating. And so he really helped shape the direction of the business. Somewhere along the way, another relationship was I became good friends with Fred DeLuca, who's the guy that started Subway. And because we were on the board of directors of the International Franchise Association together, and when I bought out my partner in the mid 90s, the bank didn't like the way I did it because we were using an asset based loan to kind of pay for his buyout. And the bank said, Greg, you probably better find an investor." And Fred, when we would hang out after board meetings, he'd always ask me, "Greg, could you ever want an investor? Your business is fascinating." And I was
Mhm.
never interested. And then one day I was interested. So I called up Fred, and Fred made a investment in the business that really gave us not just the money we needed to get the bank off our back, gave us a lot of credibility. When the founder of Subway buys into what it is that we're doing, gave us a lot of credibility. Fred has since passed. Fred passed 6 or 7 years ago, sadly, and so that and we bought him out and his family out, and, now my wife Vera and I own 99 point something percent of the whole company. So those are all pivotal moments, and really COVID, I'm sure there were others along the way, but COVID was maybe the biggest blessing. COVID, we pivoted to PPE. A lot of people pivoted to PPE, but we did in a huge way. My wife, who's the CEO, and I probably should also mention I married Vera somewhere along the way 25 years ago because she's our CEO now. And she's way smarter than I am, and she's a
Amazing.
great CEO. And I'm a I'm an entrepreneur, I'll start anything. I've got
Mhm.
guts the size of this room, and but she's very organizational. So when COVID came, we sat down early in March of that year and we said, we better do something. And so she had the idea to take PPE, and I said, well, I'll go figure out what else there is. Well, there never really was anything else. I think that year of COVID, we were chartering jets out of China, big jets. And we were almost like being in Vegas because, you're paying a couple $1,000,000 to get a jet out of China. And I don't know if you remember, but China was grumpy with America for a while because there were complaints about the quality of products coming out of China, and they wanted no more of that. And so they demanded inspections on everything before it left the country. And oh, by the way, if you had a jet on the ground in China and it had a 10-minute window to take off, it was taking off. This is $2 million. It was taking off empty or full, they didn't care. Get that jet out of here. And fortunately, we always had those jets full. We flew them into Toronto and Chicago. I think that year we sold 300 million
Wow.
in PPE, at least 300 million. But the blessing of it was, well, first of all, we made millionaires.
Mhm.
Many of our owners became millionaires. One of our owners actually got made $5 million.
Wow.
So I sent him one check for $5 million, and that
Unbelievable.
was nice. But you know what it really did? The next year, even though COVID sort of died down, PPE sort of died down, the next year, our people even had a better year. And you know why? Because all of their customers started to realize, wait a minute, you're more than just the pen guy, or you're more than just the brochure girl, or you're more than, they realized that we were a whole lot more than what they thought we were. And they gave it, and we also at that time had developed, we're developing our company stores, which is basic, middle of the road, and very advanced, which has the advanced has what a Fortune 50 customer would need, and single sign-on SAML, all of the SOC 2 audits or all that stuff. I don't even know the language, but I know what they want. But we decided to give them basic for free. So basic pop-up stores were free. So they were giving away basic pop-up stores like they were candy. The next year, our sales went up significantly, not down, and they've grown every year since because the customers continue to realize there's a lot more that each of the owners can do for them.
That's an amazing story. Question for you. I assume you guys work with, like, the PCNAs and the SAMRs and all the traditional suppliers in the industry, but it sounded like you got into PPE where you actually, took possession from China and did manufacturing yourself, like, grabbed it overseas. Was that the first time you were starting to buy directly from China, or have you done that before, COVID?
Oh, no, we've done it before, and listen, we love all of our traditional suppliers. However, there are some relationships that just require being your own importer or global sourcing operation, um, for a whole number of reasons. So we've done global sourcing. in the past, but surely PPE was our largest foray into global sourcing by
Mhm.
far.
Awesome. First of all, thank you so much for the time so far. And this is very fascinating for me to learn this franchise model. It's very new to me. So asking these type of questions. Where do you see the industry as a whole in the next 5 years? There's tariffs that are a big deal coming from China or against China. Um, there's just the rise of AI that could play a part. Some ways positive, some ways negative. I could kind of predict different things that this plays out. Where do you see the industry going?
Yeah, well, AI, our CTO that joined us, I think 7 years ago and is truly a genius, came from Red Hat. I think you know that name, Red Hat. I think I know they're the largest custom app developer globally, and when IBM realized they needed to get into custom app development, they bought Red Hat for, like, crazy I don't even remember how many billions of dollars, and, so we have 80 people on our technology team today continuing to number 1, drive innovation, but also number 2, being immediately responsive to our owners who have great opportunities out there, but sometimes they need a tweak here or there. But additionally, he was able to recruit over one of his very good friends from Red Hat that was one of their leading AI architecture developers. And in fact, he speaks at global forums about artificial intelligence, and he was doing AI work for the Fortune 50 for Red Hat. But he wanted to be a part of something smaller where he could really make a noticeable difference far more quickly and just enjoy what his friend was enjoying as the CTO. And he's now I think our CTO became our CIO and this guy became our CTO leading our foray now into AI. And what we're doing in AI is crazy. It's so crazy exciting what it can do to empower sales, business intelligence, business growth, business automation, and a whole lot more. I think it's going to be continuously difficult, increasingly difficult for small mom and pops to thrive. They'll always survive. There's always somebody that's willing to sell hair salons, pens, and appointment reminder cards. And you know that, Jeremy, from your own business. I mean, there just are. But I think if somebody's in that 3 plus million, maybe even 2 plus million, and they want to double in size and they want to thrive into the future and build a business that's going to achieve their dreams and sustain their life, they're going to need to join somebody that can bring them the technology and bring them the success that they need. And they need to get over themselves, out of their own way sometimes, and realize that sometimes we could just all be better together. I've never been more positive about the future of our industry. I like our position in the industry, being one source with infinite resources, being able to help our customers consolidate their purchases, consolidate their suppliers, and truly being an agency without the fees, so to speak, to them. So businesses are going to continue to spend a lot of money on what we sell. I don't see that going away, but I think the big will get bigger.
Mhm. And I guess my last question for you, Greg, is if you had to do it all over again, you've been in business for a long time. It sounds like you have a lot of different projects in different industries, but specifically this business, what kind of advice would you give your younger self just starting, and that hopefully the entrepreneurs and young entrepreneurs that are listening here could get some motivation, some inspiration, and could see themselves 30 years down the road, looking back and being successful. So, what kind of advice would you give your younger self?
Hmm. That's a great question. I think I think that my answer could change over time, or it might have been something different 5 years ago or whatever. I think today I would tell that kid, "Relax. It's gonna be okay. Relax. It's gonna be okay. Because I was so wound up, so wired for sound. And, like I told you, in 1985, I had, 3 kids. 2 of them were twins at 3 and under, and then another year later had a 4th kid. I was living in a house I could really barely afford, but I needed to have a house that could fit 4 kids. They were going to private schools, or they were gonna be going to private schools, and yet in 1980, in the 1980s, I had, 2 big customers, that paid for almost all the bills. And I remember staring at the ceilings at nights thinking if I lost any one of those customers, I was going to have to move out of that house. I was going to have to send my kids to different schools, and I might not be able to afford some of the other things I wanted to be able to afford for them. And that really wound me up. It really wired me. That wiring drove me to be successful. I think some days that wiring's still in me, and I still feel the passion and the worry, if you will, and the drive. And yet I'm not that guy anymore. We're 650 million going on 700 million. We're an industry leader in technology and business success. And um, I tell this guy you're talking to here right now the same thing I would tell that guy back then. Relax. It's gonna be okay.
Gonna be okay. Greg, thank you so much for the time. Thank you so much for your wisdom and continued success.
Hey, thank you for all the great questions. Good to start getting to know you, man.